Everyone has doubts. It doesn't matter if you have a lion's courage, a tarnished's resolve, or the pure faith of a scholar. When faced with an insurmountable challenge, anxiety fills you with a singular question. What if I'm not good enough? You may not believe in yourself, but you don't need to, because there are games that believe in you. But to understand what that means, we should probably start a bit closer to the beginning. Let's take a walk. This is an amusement arcade, and this is an arcade machine. Back in the early 1970s, you could find the first few arcade video games. You've probably heard of Pong, or its less popular IRL minigame, table tennis. Pong paved the way for video games as a whole, because it was the first commercially successful video game. That means it was the first game to give corporations what they love the most.
Money!
If you aren't familiar, in order to play an arcade machine, you need to pay a small amount of money. So Pong was successful due to its competitive nature and its replayability. Every time you wanted to rematch to beat your friends, you had to feed the Pong machine a bit more of your pocket money. Those money-grubbing businesses soon cottoned on to that, and to make more money, they had to make people lose more or faster. They would attempt to push these games to their limits. It had to be as difficult as possible whilst still being fun. 10 years down the line, to the end of the 1970s and through the early 1980s, we reached the golden age of arcade video games. Asteroids, Frogger, Donkey Kong, Mario, Puckman. You'll know that last one as Pac-Man. They had to change the original name when they westernized it, because they were worried vandals would replace the P with an F. I'm serious. Games branched out and got progressively more difficult in different ways. This meant that to complete their games, or to have your initials on that prestigious scoreboard, you needed to either be good or get good. But it's hard to call these games that believe in you. Sure, they presented you with a challenge to overcome, but the company likely didn't care if you beat the game, as long as people kept paying to try. They were built to get as many retries as possible, to bring in as much money as possible. Admittedly, times have changed greatly since then. Now, most people have access to some kind of a console or computer in their own home. Companies no longer need to make things so challenging, because you're not putting quarters into their machines anymore to get more retries. In fact, the opposite is incentivized. The easier a game is, the more accessible it becomes. And the more accessible a game is, the bigger a market it can appeal to, and thus, the game can sell more copies. Those kind of games certainly don't believe in you, but they aren't the only kind of games in the modern era. There are, of course, plenty that are unabashedly difficult, but the meta for making money is to have broad appeal. If people think the game is too hard, no one's going to play it. If no one's going to play it, no one's going to buy it. That doesn't sound very profitable to me. So why are some companies still making difficult games? Let's have a look. Do any of you remember Blockbuster? I might be showing my age here, but back in my day when you were a kid, you could save your pocket money and go to your local Blockbuster. So you'd blow your money on games and chocolate that you and your friends would try your best to beat before you had to take them back. One such game you could rent was The Lion King on the SNES.
It starts.
This game was brutal. And I don't mean Cuphead tutorial hard. I mean Disney wanted it to be so hard you couldn't complete it in the Blockbuster rental period. They had to publicly apologise for its difficulty. That is the level of hard that I'm talking about. Now, I wasn't old enough to have played this game back in the day, but I did acquire a copy of the game to play and record for you for the background footage. Legally, of course. The game is a side-scrolling platformer that follows the same narrative as the movie. You play as the lion cub Simba, and in Mario fashion, you Goomba stomp enemies to kill them. You can also do the roar, which stuns enemies and does other stuff. In the second half of the game, like the movie, Simba becomes an adult. Now, a fully fledged lion, you can do lion things like lion scratch, lion maul, and lion throw. Although cats have 9 lives, lions clearly only have 3. You lose one of your lives if you step in the water, step on lava, get stepped on, or no-clip through a giraffe head. You know, typical lion things. If you lose all of your lives, it's game over. Unless you harness the power of the sun.
The king has returned.
Just like in the movie, Simba can also eat bugs. They either restore one of his bars, or give him a special power-up. But don't eat the spiders, that's bad juju. This, once again, sounds a lot like the old arcade games mentality. It was cranked in difficulty to make more money, as they didn't want you to rent the game, they wanted you to buy it instead. The game wasn't challenging you for your sake. They couldn't care less if you completed it or not, as long as you bought it. That's not a game that believes in you. But there is another game very similar to The Lion King that I'd like to talk about. You may not play as Simba, but you can do lion things. You can do the roar, you can lion scratch, you can lion maul, and you can even lion throw. Okay, you can't do that last one, but he can. It's time to talk about Elden Ring. I think it would be remiss of me not to mention FromSoft at this point. They birthed the Souls series, a series notorious for its difficulty. It even inspired its own genre of games, Souls-like. But even compared to many of the others in the Souls-like genre, FromSoft is known for having some of the most difficult titles. I guess you could call them the Dark Souls of Souls-likes. Elden Ring is their most recent game. Will you cut that out? Thank you. As I was saying, Elden Ring is their most recent game. You probably heard the hype back in 2022, and again in 2024 with the DLC release, and again very recently with Night Rain. As I mentioned before, these games are notorious for being difficult, and it became a badge of honour if you had completed them. Some things never change. FromSoft builds difficult games with love. You have a wide variety of weapons at your disposal. If you prefer close combat, you can hit the enemy with anything from swords to pointy shields. You can even fight with your bare hands, or even your bare hands. If you're a coward, you can use anything from bows to magic. Choose Team Book Nerd and you get blue, choose Team D&D and you get lots of yellow and red, or just yeet whatever you find lying on the ground. Daggers, hammers, spears. You can even throw an axe at people. The deodorant, not the weapon. That'd be silly. The point is, you have a lot of options to choose from, and you can mix and match. This way, the game can stay very difficult, but still get the benefit of a wider, broad appeal. Some things make the game easier for those with terminal skill issues, and maniacs can do broken sword runs or play with bongo drums. But this isn't the only way they believe in you. FromSoft likes to use something called optional bosses. These are powerful enemies that you can choose to not fight and still complete the game. Unless you want to play the DLC, then one of those optional bosses becomes a fair bit less optional. Optional bosses could be perceived as not believing in you. These are fights you don't have to do, after all. But I would like to argue the opposite. If an enemy is not required to be beaten, FromSoft is believing in you more. You don't have to fight that boss, but they believe you can, and they're happy to wait until you also believe that. Even if that never happens, they still believe in you. I think this is represented perfectly by Elden Ring's first tree sentinel. The initial instinct many players have will be, there's a guy in my way, so I'm meant to fight them. But after getting their cheeks clapped a few times, they'll quickly look for other options. One of these many tools is run away.
Run.
You can, in fact, just ignore this enemy. You can hide in the bushes and give them a wide berth to reach the game's next checkpoint. You can even travel a bit further down the road and gain your own horse to level the playing field. But if you're like me, that's easier said than done. Yeah, I'm probably meant to come back later.
Maidenless knave. The health bar moved. It can bleed. It can die.
Elden Ring believes in you. You can run away and come back better prepared. No one will blame you for it. Well, some people will. But you could also beat it now. And for those of you that are thinking, oh, you can just fight at range, use magic, I'd like you to watch this. Yeah, that happens. Elden Ring gives you all the options you need, all the time you need, and it tells you you are ready, and then sits there patiently and waits until you believe that you are. And all the same, it celebrates with you at the end. One thing typical to Souls-likes is death, but I didn't mention that after you die, all your runes get placed on the ground near where you last died. If you die again before you collect those runes, they're gone forever. This is another way that Souls-like games believe in you. It's an extra incentive to retry the last combat, or to put yourself back in a dangerous position. You need those runes after all. It's also a mechanic shared by the last game we will cover, Hollow Knight. In Hollow Knight, you're a cute little guy that runs around and murders bugs for their lunch money. You then use the lunch money to get upgrades that make you better at murdering bugs. You can then kill bigger bugs for their lunch money, and everyone knows that bigger things need more lunch, so they have more lunch money. Hollow Knight would be regarded by many as a difficult game. It's similar to Elden Ring in that it gives you lots of options to fight with, but I would like to talk about a very specific section of the game, the Path of Pain. Because it's been a while, let's have a quick refresher. These masks here represent your health. If you take damage, you lose a mask. What about that big mask? That is your soul bowl. It holds the blood of your enemies, and you can use it to cast spells or regenerate health. The Path of Pain is a platforming section, which means you need to get from one platform to another, avoiding deadly traps and obstacles. Throughout the game you unlock different ways of getting from A to B. What we have is jumping, double jumping, and wall jumping. With any jump, if you tap the button, you do a hop, and if you hold the button, you do a big jump. Due to the variation, a double jump can be anything from this to this. To wall jump, you have to jump at a wall and then jump away again. That sounds easy, but if you aren't facing the wall, you don't do a wall jump. Instead, you waste your double jump, and you look like an idiot. Something else we have is dashing. Apart from Zote, there are a few different types of dashing. Normal dash, which can be done mid-air, and super dash, but you need to wind up on a solid flat surface first. You can cancel this early by jumping. The last thing you need to know is that if you stab something dangerous below you, you bounce a bit. This works on enemies and spiky things. Well, most spiky things. This technique is called pogoing. Now that you know what you can do, you realise it isn't actually a lot. At the end of Hollow Knight, Team Cherry gave to me 3 types of jumps, 2 types of dash, and a pogo on enemies. As I mentioned, I hadn't played Hollow Knight in a few years, and I missed the Path of Pain the first time. I understand walkthroughs for challenges, but I shouldn't need one to find the bloody thing. Anyway, this meant I could jump straight into it. I just had to relearn all of the controls whilst attempting the Path of Pain. The Path of Pain is meant to be the culmination of your efforts up until this point. You have all the gear needed by 100%ing the main game. You should have the backing of all the skill and practice of a full playthrough. You're on your own. To witness secrets sealed, one must endure the harshest punishments. The first thing you might notice is that some of the checkpoints are hidden. A quick super dash into the alcove and we find a statue similar to others found throughout the game, but these are different. Usually the statues break, but like the mentality you'll need to take for this challenge, these ones don't crumble. The background footage for a while will be my run through of the Path of Pain. I counted all the deaths and how long it took to get past each section, because I wanted to show you something. Cropped together, it may look fairly easy, but I wanted to add some transparency to emphasise the difficulty of the task. You see, I chose these challenges because they were ones I hadn't completed before. Until I had the idea for this video, I'd never played The Lion King. I'd only played Elden Ring co-op with a friend, and I hadn't touched the Path of Pain. These were challenges I had yet to overcome. I needed to be able to record my thoughts pre and post all of these challenges to confirm my beliefs and ideas. They had to be fresh experiences, otherwise they wouldn't fit the video. If I'd already completed the challenges, then the games would no longer need to believe in me, because I would believe in myself. I would know that I'd already struggled, learned, and beaten everything once. It would be much easier the second time. Even if it was a long time ago, you'll still have some knowledge of what's coming next, and that makes things a lot more manageable. I did all of this so that I could tell you with certainty, the person you are before and after these challenges will look the same, bar maybe some bags under your eyes. But they will be fundamentally different, changed. To overcome a challenge, you must overcome something else. You need to overcome yourself. The old version of you that couldn't do what you are now capable of. Each death on that counter isn't a failure, it's a learning experience, and another version of myself that I was able to overcome. Each is a mark of being one step closer to the me that overcomes this challenge. A me that wasn't overwhelmed by the weight of the problem, but instead faced it head on. It could be tens, hundreds, or even thousands of deaths. It could take minutes, hours, or days. That stuff isn't really important in the end. Because regardless of how long it took you, or how many tries, you did it. You overcame the challenge. I wanted to give you that transparency. I wanted you to feel the struggle that was the Path of Pain. The full weight of concentrating for hours on end and dying countless times. There will be many people who beat this challenge faster than me, and with less deaths than me. Some of you might even be thinking, wow, he's bad at platforming if it took him that long or that many tries. And you'd be right. Some of you might be thinking, oh, it took me way longer to do this or way more deaths. He must be good at platforming. And you'd also be right. Actually no, that last part is probably still wrong. But for those of you thinking, I could never do that, I believe that you can. So does Hollow Knight, and so does Elden Ring. These are games that believe in you. They don't get paid again if you retry. They don't benefit from the broadest appeal by being easy. They're making sacrifices to give you something a bit more meaningful, even if it means putting you through hell. Speaking of hell, did I mention that if you lose all of your masks, you have to start over from the beginning? The Path of Pain always wants you to go one step further. If I died there, I would have been heartbroken. As you're going through the section, you can't see ahead of you, so everything is a surprise. And you need a combination of reaction speed, dying, and learning to get through everything. Scraping your way through all of that to be met with a boss fight is the definition of believing in you. Team Cherry are used to putting their fans through hell, but this is a mark of their belief in you. your capabilities are tested to their limits. And although you can use certain charms to make it easier by giving you a bit more health or some health regen, that just allows you to make more mistakes. The only thing that gets you through the path of pain is pure and 100% reason to remember the name. The whole time, Hollow Knight believes in you. It knows what you can do, and it believes you can do so much more. It pushes you hard because you can handle it. And finally, it rewards you with something special. For a lot of you, I'd imagine struggling only to improve yourself isn't enough motivation. If it was, this video would be pointless. But there is a lot else to be gained through testing your limits and pushing yourself. Firstly, there's usually some kind of in-game reward. The Lion King proved to be a bit of a letdown when it came to believing in you, but its saving grace. Throughout the levels, you can find special bugs. Consuming this one will let you play a secret bonus stage, where you can either be Timon or Pumbaa. So maybe the devs didn't believe in you when it came to difficulty, but they did believe in you when it came to your ability to find secrets. In Elden Ring, your reward for beating the Tree Sentinel early is character progression. You get runes which help you level up, a cool weapon, and a mentality that will benefit you greatly for the fights to come. And in Hollow Knight, you gain a reward exclusive to those worthy few that bested the challenge, and anyone with a YouTube account. You get to watch a cutscene, only a few seconds long, but this particular cutscene provides an important lore aspect, suggested to be the reason for the game itself. It brings things full circle and gives you a sense of closure. And if in-game items and benefits aren't good enough for you, think about what we've discussed so far. If you overcome a challenge, an older version of you change. Physically, your motor skills and hand-eye coordination might improve. Learning new controls, multitasking, and reaction speed all go up. Getting your heart racing is good for you, just don't forget to touch grass every now and then. Mentally, stress management and emotional intelligence can increase. You'll learn how you react in stressful situations. You might start out as somebody who's very physically aggressive, but after a broken controller or two, you'll quickly learn the value of dealing with stress in other ways. Controllers are pretty expensive nowadays. Personally, well, I already spoke a lot about that, but did I mention it can also help you build self-esteem? One way you can build confidence is through achievements. If you have a list of things that you've done, particularly if they were difficult to do, it can give you a sense of self-worth or pride. This is why those letters on the arcade machine or the completion of Dark Souls was so sought after. It adds fuel to that little spark we all have, and when that spark becomes a flame, you won't need to look outwards for warmth. Each challenge you face and overcome gives you confidence in your abilities. That confidence leads you to take on greater challenges, which in turn grants you more confidence, which in turn lets you take on greater challenges. Ad infinitum. This concept obviously transcends games. You get medals for winning sports events, you get certificates for passing courses, and you get grades on tests. The task can be worth doing, and the reward can be something you want, but sometimes you need just a little push to get you started. The belief these games have in you lets you believe in yourself a little more, and if you believe in yourself enough, maybe you can choose your own path. Click here to find out.